time. That's the time for both Adam and I. He's in Canada, I'm in Florida, and we were talking before we came on. Neither one of us have been up this late since we were about 20 years old, so this is like really fun for us, kind of like a pajama party. In fact, I'm a little annoyed with Adam. He looks so debonair with the sports coat on, and I was going to come in my pajamas, given the hour, but I thought maybe that'd be too casual, so I did at least put on a shirt. But I do want to introduce another pioneer to you in the domain industry. Whoa, I just had a malfunction here. Let me move this thing out of the way.
You got excited when I introduced you.
I know. I'll have to readjust that later. That was my fill light. I thought the problem would be on the Indian side, not on our side. But anyhow, Adam is another longtime friend who, as I said, has been a real pioneer in this business. He is the owner of dnforum.com, which is the largest domain forum in the world. And DN Forum is really where I learned anything I know about this business. I actually stumbled upon the business back in 2002. I was doing a search on Google, had gotten interested in domain names, and I saw a link to this place called DN Forum. So I went there, and here are all these people who talking about domain names, buying and selling them. And I thought it was the most interesting thing in the world, so I quickly joined up. And it was just a great community. At the time, it had been started by a teenager in Virginia who sold it to someone else, and then Adam came and bought it from the second owner, and then invested a ton of time and money into it, and the thing just mushroomed from there into the world's largest forum. So if you're not already a member, I would definitely recommend going to dnforum.com. But Adam's background goes far beyond that. He's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in our business, a number of great domain sales. He has a portfolio of about 30,000 domain names. But where Adam has really become in so much demand over the past year at all of the conferences is because he has got some innovative ways to make money on the internet. When Michael and I were on talking earlier, I was telling you about the importance of having a number of different revenue streams and how the parking stream has dried up quite a bit. Well, Adam has come up with ways to make money where you don't even have to worry about parking. So let me introduce you to my good friend. Definitely, he's a Hall of Fame member in Traffic's Domain Hall of Fame. This is going to be a very interesting session for you, Mr. Adam Dicker.
Hi everybody, how are you? Hopefully good. So a little bit about me that Ron may not have mentioned so far. I was the vice president of GoDaddy for 4 to 5 years. I own 30,000 domains and websites. I still actively sell 6 to 10 domains a week between the 3,000 and 8,000 price range, but I also sell a lot of higher-end domain names. I run a place that's free to join through Facebook. It's called DNF College. And I do tons and tons of videos on there, and you can get to it through facebook.com/groups/domain college. I run 12 different businesses because I do like to diverse, like Ron said. So I've got 12 different businesses that each make over $50,000 a month. I run a large web design company, and we do a lot of lead generation for companies. So one of the things that we can talk about is how you can make a lot of money by bringing in leads for companies that may be the U.S. or Canada or anywhere else for that matter, because they all need services. Even if somebody posts something online that they're getting engaged in Sydney, Australia, all those people will then need a bridal consultant, they may need a cake, they need a wedding dress, they'll need a band, they'll need all kinds of different things, no matter what city they're in. So just because you see somebody got engaged, it's an opportunity to sell them services, as well as to give them services they need. I also teach courses in 16 different countries on how to make money buying and selling domain names, and also how to broker domain names for profit. And the last thing I'll tell you, I was one of the first people to sell a domain for $1 million, and one of the first people to sell a domain for $15 million. So I've had a lot of experience in the business. That should sum up most of my experience for you.
That's not a bad start at all, Adam. So what are you going to do for an encore? I know you have got more balls in the air than anyone in the industry. So you have so many different businesses going on. I hardly know where to begin. Why don't you tell us about some of the things that, particularly our audience sitting in India, enterprise ideas that you think would benefit them or they might be able to take advantage of?
Sure. So some of the things you can do is, for example, on Facebook, I actually have some people in India now that are making upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And what they're doing is basically they're just taking information from Facebook, which I provide a tool for them, and then they can do a search, and it will tell them about people online, where they have a website or just a Facebook page, and then we can sell them a website, where they have a website but it's not mobile optimized, we can do that. And even if they have a Facebook URL but it's got a bunch of numbers in it and they don't have a custom URL, then I sell them a custom URL as well. So instead of having facebook.com slash 8649250, it can be facebook.com slash Adams Restaurant. So they get a custom URL. There's a lot of different things. And you can tell, if some of them may not even have a Facebook cover, so you can sell them a Facebook cover. There's lots of different opportunities that you can do based on that. And you have to use everything you have around you to make money. So when I went to sell paperbacks.com, I was trying to find the owner of Barnes & Noble, which is a large book manufacturer in the United States. So what I did was I got a hold of the person in finance at Barnes & Noble, who was a vice president of finance. And I talked to them, and I said, are you the person I should talk to about buying paperbacks.com? And they said, no. I said, should I talk to Jim, who's the owner and the CEO of Barnes & Noble? He said, yes. So then I took his referral. I called the CEO from Barnes & Noble, and I was able to speak to him because I told him I was referred by the VP of Finance, because he did tell me to call him. And then I got through right away, and we sold the domain within 2-3 hours. So you have to be able to be ingenious and find different ways to get a hold of people. And that's just one of the ways that you can use to get a hold of people to sell domain names.
You just finished a term in your DNF college, and I don't know if the audience is familiar with that or not, but you've been doing that. I believe that was your third session. Is this some of the stuff that you're talking about today? Do you go in depth in that course that you provide?
Yeah, I mean, today we've only got about 45 minutes. Normally, I'm speaking for a day at a time, so I do tons of videos. Each video is almost an hour long. I also have the two most popular videos on the internet as far as how to sell a domain name. So you should also Google those. You can find them on domainsherpa.com, which is Mike Seiger's site, and you'll find a couple of videos where I actually teach you how to sell domain names. And you'll find those hopefully very helpful.
When you were talking... I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're just in the beginning stages of Term 3 right now of DNF College, so if you guys want to get in, you should. It's free, there's no charge. Go to facebook.com/groups/domaincollege and just ask to join, and you'll get in at no charge. And there's no cost, there's no money, there's no investment needed whatsoever.
Another thing that I've heard you talk about at a lot of the conferences is some e-commerce ideas, which no one else talks about. You've talked about getting certain products. I believe one example, when I heard you speak in Las Vegas last May, was LED light bulbs and how you're able to get them wholesale and then sell them from home. Do you have some e-commerce examples that you could share with people?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I do is I pay attention to things like Alibaba and DHgate, and I find good quality deals on things like LED light bulbs here are about $19 a piece, but I can buy them on DHgate for about $2 to $3 each. And what I was doing was I was importing them at $1,000 a time and selling them to electricians locally, and they were just coming by and picking them up and dropping off cash. So I would buy cases of them and have them sent over. I also did it with SIM cards, USB hard drives, all kinds of different things.
Let me ask you, in doing that, and also the examples that you gave before through Facebook, how important are the domains to those enterprises, and what kind of domains would you suggest people marry those enterprises with?
Really, it's not as important as people think. Now, obviously, I make a lot of money buying and selling domain names, but the big thing is to have high-quality content, and one of the things that I tend to do is I build businesses. Yes, it's great to have domain sales, and yes, it's good to go after them. It's good to have people come to you. But you want to build businesses that's going to give you residual income every month. And that way you can afford to invest more money in domain names and know that you're still going to be able to get through the month if you've got a mortgage or you've got bills or whatever you have to get through. You still want to have residual income. So I definitely say building a business is key, but the domain name, although it may help a little bit, it's going to have a lot to do with how much you put into it, how much you invest in time in putting it out on social networks, and how much you go and answer replies on answers.com and other places where they're asking about things like I specialize in cord blood storage, which is storing the baby's umbilical cord blood to prevent 62 or 67 different diseases that could happen. You can use that cord blood for every different person in your family. There's over 10,000 people online that pretend they're a cord blood company, but there's really only 4 in the U.S., and I actually own one of them. So it's important that you get affiliated if you want to do web design, if you want to do web sales. There's lots of good things you could do.
One thing that also that struck me about your talks was how you manage to get to decision makers when you're trying to sell a domain. Everyone in the audience wants to sell a domain, and a lot of them think that it's just a matter of listing them on CDO or Afternic, but you've had some very enterprising and interesting ways to get to the people who make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take initiative. It's that old saying about sales. You can't stop at the first no, you can't stop at the 10th no. You have to keep going until you get to the right person. I've been talking to people at Skype, I've been talking to people at Vonage about other domain names. You have to be able to understand, and I always tell people that to make money in this business, you have to know sales. Anybody can buy domains. It doesn't take real intelligence to do that. But this business is 98% sales and negotiation. So educate yourself on selling and how to negotiate, and you'll be far better off than the rest of the people in the industry. And you also have to remember that the buyer sets the price. You can ask whatever you want for it. You're only ever going to get what the buyer's willing to pay for that domain name.
Michael and I talked a little bit about CCTLDs a little bit earlier in our session. Of course, in India, they have .in, which is a very well-known extension. You're from Canada, where you have the .ca, and as it happens, we just had the largest .ca sale publicly reported this year, this past week, which was usedcars.ca, was in 6 figures. You are known more for your .com sales, but being someone who knows the .ca well, the CCTLD markets, what is your outlook for the CCTLDs, especially now that we have so many of these new GTLDs coming along, including a lot of them which are going to be geo domains like at city level, which could compete to some degree with the CCTLDs?
The CCTLDs are always going to be good. They're usually the second choice to the .com. For example, the CAs are doing really well. I'm in the middle of negotiating a 7-figure .ca sale at the moment, and I know it is going to close, and it's a huge deal. But my CAs, I have the best CA portfolio in the world. I've got tons of generic ones, and I continue to invest more and more heavily into it because I know it's going to take off. I mean, I sold PW.ca to Price Waterhouse, which is a big corporation. I've sold a bunch of others, and I'm working on LQ.ca with La Quinta Hotels. I'm working on a bunch of other ones as well. So the CA market is very good. It's very strong. It's building, and so are the other CCTLDs. So if I can give you any advice, if you have enough money to invest in the 2-letter CCTLDs, do that. So if you've got enough to buy a 2-letter .in, do that. I owned about 300 .in domain names. And I think they're good investments. I still own them. I had a lot of the Hindu words, like Vyapar.in, which means business, as everybody in that room should know, and a whole bunch of others. I actually got one suspended by the Indian government. And I'll tell them the name. I'll try not to laugh, but it was Lund.in. And most of you guys will know what Lund means, but Ron probably won't. That's okay. Anyway, they suspended.
Maybe I don't want to know. I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They're strong. The CCTLDs are very strong, and they're going to continue to grow over time. There's also some strong GTLD plays that are out there where people are investing and making a lot of money. I've been involved in one deal recently where we spent $500,000 to $600,000 on GTLDs, and they sold for almost $6 million. So there's lots going on in the GTLD market that's not public. A lot of people are making money in it, but get it in things that make sense, like dental, rentals, anything that makes sense that a business would want is important.
Another thing that's been an issue, though, with the new GTLDs that wasn't an issue with .com or even the first round of so-called new TLDs back around 2000 when Info and Biz came in, is that with the new ones, the registries themselves are holding back most of the domains that people would consider to be valuable. A lot of them holding tens of thousands of domains back. And on top of that, a lot of them are asked for the ones that they are letting you register. they're wanting premium prices for them. So you have to pay, unlike .com being, let's say, $8 to $10 a year, you might have to pay $50 or $100 a year to renew a domain, and those holding costs would kill you. So what are your thoughts are there bargains within there, or how would you advise people to play this new GTLD market if they wanted to dabble in it?
Well, I mean, obviously I wouldn't spend a lot of money on some of the more expensive ones. I would invest in some of the ones that are reasonable, that you could buy and flip quickly, and there's certainly a lot of money in certain things like property, like the property, real estate. There's a bunch of them that are really good, but the one thing I can tell you is when you buy a domain name, only buy it if you think a business would want it. Don't buy it because you like it. Don't fall romantically in love with your domain names. Don't keep anything that a business wouldn't want. And if you wouldn't spend at least $500 to buy that domain name, what makes you think another business would in the first place? So make sure it's something that you would spend that money on if you had it, an abundance of money, and would invest in a business. But only buy domain names that a business would want, because those are the people you're going to resell to.
And odds are you are going to spend several $100s on a domain name if you keep it and hold it, because domain names are, as much as we love them and see a lot of big sales, they tend to be much more illiquid than, say, real estate, where there's so many comparable sales. So even someone who has tens of thousands of domains only sells generally a single-digit percentage of those each year. So carrying costs become very important. On the topic of new GTLDs, one that I kind of like is one of Uniregistry's, which is .link, because you get from one site to another through links. But one reason I like it's not just because it's generic, but the carrying costs are so reasonable. It can be as low as $6.50 if you're in their affiliate program, so you could keep it for 10 years for, say, $65. Now, I know they were criticized because they did hold a block of about 40,000 domains, but I found some like palmbeach.link, a lot of one-word generic terms that I can keep for about $6 a year. So there are some things out there if you want to do the mining. I'm not necessarily, I only threw a few $100s in it, so it's not something I'm deeply into, but at this stage I would just dabble and not have too much risk out there, but at least you're in the game if you want to be in it. Adam, tell me about, with DN Forum, again, I don't know how many people are members there. If they're not, they certainly should be. But you're constantly expanding the site, and it's just amazing to have watched the growth in it over the years. Tell us kind of what's been happening there just in the current year, if they haven't signed up and they come over and become a member.
Well, I think when I bought it, I think there was about 200 to 300 members, even though it was the second owner. And now there's almost 400,000 members. There's always 2,000 people on 24/7. It's like the eBay of domain names. So if nothing more than to get in and learn and educate yourself about domain names and learn how to make money, it's a good place to meet with like-minded people that are on there. And they sell all kinds of different domain names, and people are free to give information and things like that.
In addition to that resource, you have some others as well. And after hearing you speak, a lot of people are going to want to know how to connect with you, how to see your videos. You mentioned the ones on Domain Sherpa, but you also have your own blog, and I know several videos are posted at theartofthename.com as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of videos. I think there's a YouTube channel called DNF College. There's a YouTube channel, Adam Dicker. And if anybody has any questions, I'm very approachable, so feel free to reach out to me. You can catch me on Skype, which is where I am now, at adam.dicker, or you can email me at adam@dcg.com. And if you want, for everybody that's at the conference, I'll give you a free starter membership. It's normally $40 a year, and you can get in and do what you want at DN Forum. Just email chuck@dcg.com and say, I'd like my free membership. That's chuck@dcg.com, and he'll get you a free membership to get you started.
And also, you mentioned, I want to make sure people are aware, you mentioned some videos at Domain Sherpa, but in addition to that, Adam is on a panel at Domain Sherpa every week. Generally, if you follow the domaining.com feed, you'll see the headline when their new show is out. It's Rick Schwartz, Michael Berkins, Paige Howe, and Adam Dicker with Michael Steiger hosting, and they cover all the top topics of the week. Generally, the show runs about an hour and a quarter. To me, that's must-see viewing every week. All free of charge, and it's amazing how much you can learn from that as well. Adam, we were getting the signal. I knew this 45 minutes was going to go by in the snap of a finger, but we have to clear the decks here for the show to continue. So let me just throw it back to you. If there's anything you'd like to tell the audience in this last minute or two before we sign off from the U.S. and Canada.
No, the only thing I really want to say is thank you very much for having me, and I hope you all make a lot of money in this industry that's been so good to Ron and I and to others. Don't get, make sure you keep your head up. I've only done about 5% of what I'm going to do in the industry. There's lots of room for growth, and not all the good domains are taken, so don't believe that for a second. That's only what people say when they want you to stay out of the industry. So there's a lot of room for you to make money in this industry, and I hope you do very well.
All right, thank you so much, Adam Dicker, and again, thank you everyone at DomainX and in Hyderabad. Again, we really are so sorry we didn't get to come and see all of you in person, but it's still early in the process, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to meet many of you face-to-face. In the meantime, those of you who are there, again, it's a golden opportunity. Do as much networking as you can. Thanks again, and goodbye from North America.